Abelardo Morell is a Cuban-American fine art photographer who was born in Havana and came to the United States with his family in 1962 when he was 13 years old. His undergraduate degree is from Bowdoin College, and he received his MFA from the Yale University School of Art. He received an honorary degree from Bowdoin College in 1997 and from Lesley University in 2014. His family settled in New York, and as a young adult, Morell immersed himself in American culture, listening to the music of John Cage and Coltrane and enjoying the freedom that American culture provided him. At Bowdoin, Morell originally was interested in majoring in engineering and science, but after failing physics, he enrolled in a photography course taught by John McKee, which changed his career trajectory. Influenced by Robert Frank's book, The Americans, and by Henri Cartier-Bresson, Helen Levitt, and Diane Arbus, he originally focused on street photography, in particular in New York, which was his home. The birth of his first child changed his career trajectory again, and instead of street photography, he started doing more personal and interior work. This photo is from a project he calls Childhood. I love the textures in this photo. They're so rich and warm, and the angle is low like a child's might be. It feels very nostalgic. I love the composition with the shadow against the wall, mimicking the Tower of Blocks. In this photo, also from the project called Childhood, I love the whimsy of the children inside the shadow house and the windows drawn in the dirt. It evokes the imagination of childhood, a time when random items or natural occurrences, like a shadow, can take on meaning in the imagination, and that meaning lends itself to play. Morell originally caught my eye because of his project called Books. I love books, and I really love how he gives them dignity and presents them in ways that we're not usually used to seeing these commonplace items. We often overlook them, and in Morell's photos, we really do get a fresh look. I love the book Damaged by Water, and the fact that it would be a photographic subject as opposed to something just to toss is really wonderful. The play of shadows on this book mimics the images of the pyramids, and I love the imagination that led him to see this and find this image. I'm intrigued by how much he plays with light and books in conjunction to create compositions and images that help you see books in a different light. The next big transformation in Morell's work came when he took a sabbatical from teaching and developed his camera obscura work. This is the work for which he's most well known. At first, all of his images were upside down like this one, which is how a camera obscura naturally presents the image. So you see here the upside down cityscape of Paris outside the window, and I love how he contrasts that with the child's cityscape from the toys inside. This diagram shows how he makes his camera obscura images. He blocks off the windows in a room, leaving just a small hole through which the light comes, and the light coming through that hole casts an image of what is directly outside onto the opposite wall, but the image is generally cast upside down as we saw in the previous image. There's no trick to this, it's just the natural laws of physics and of light that do that. This is the final image diagrammed on the previous slide. As you can see in this image, he has also managed to turn the outside image right side up, and he does this using a prism. I love the composition of this picture as well, especially with the people placed on either side of the doorway, and then the one individual who's coming down the walkway right in the center. These images necessarily are a long exposure. It can be hours for him on film, shorter of course on digital, but you can see a little bit of the length of the exposure in some of the shakiness of the people. In this photo, I love the richness of these red sheets in the bed, and then kind of contrasted against that backdrop of the New York City scape. There's a wonderful juxtaposition here of this warm intimacy of the bedroom with just the bright city behind it, the busy external world. In a process similar to his camera obscura work, Morell is also known for tent camera images, where he uses prisms to cast a picture of the surroundings onto the ground beneath a tent. And this leads to wonderfully gritty images like this one, where the dirt, rocks, and bits of grass give this photo a lot of texture that then helps enrich the image that is from the outside that's being cast down onto the ground. This slide shows how his tent camera works. Here he's in Monet's gardens in Giverny. Morell has always been interested and inspired by painters as well, and his painterly images of Monet's own gardens really remind me of Monet's impressionistic paintings. Here's a particularly beautiful one of Monet's garden. Morell has actually, in this one, placed actual flowers on the ground to enhance the image of the flowers and the flowering bushes that he is casting on the ground through the tent camera. The sky in this photo reveals the image, that the image is probably cast onto a pebbled patio with pebbles in concrete. And that really just definitely gives it that kind of impressionistic feeling even throughout the painting or the photo. And here in Florence, he has sent his tent camera up on cobblestones. The effect here is, again, particularly noticeable in the sky, and it fades a bit on when you reach the cityscape, so that the cityscape there is so busy that you can't really tell that the cobblestones are beneath it, but you can see that in the sky and a little bit again at the bottom of the photograph. An example of Morell's more recent work is his Flowers for Lisa project. And this project consists of a variety of images of flowers in honor of his wife Lisa. The project particularly shows the diversity of images and techniques that he uses in his photography, and that's why I wanted to include it. So here are multiple exposures. And I really love the wood in this particular image. And of course, it is again after a painter, Georges Braque. So, you know, he is pulling in all of these painters and other photographers that he has been inspired by in order to help create this work. He also mentions Jan Bruegel, Eduardo Manet, Georgia O'Keeffe, and Giorgio Morandi, Irving Penn, and Joan Mitchell as particularly influences for this project. This particular photograph was influenced by Douglas Sirk, who's a Hollywood film director in the 1950s, and he was known for highly colorful films that were very melodramatic. So I think that it's well captured in this particular image. Morell chose flowers not only to honor his love for his wife, but also because they're a conventional subject of still life. And he wanted to show flowers in new ways, to reinvent the flower as a still life, the flowered still life. And I think he's done a really amazing job with the variety of photos, and there's so many more that I couldn't even include in this project. While Morell's images of books initially drew me to him, I love the diversity and creativity of his work overall. For me, he succeeds in his goal of refreshing the world and looking at it in new ways. I've put Morell's picture at the end here in honor to him, actually, because in all of his presentations, he always quotes from Konstantin Stanislavski, love the art in you, not you in the art. And he strikes me not just for the fabulous photography that he does, but also for his humility.